All right. Happy Thursday. This is Julie with Balance Life with Julie, regenerative health practitioner, holistic nutritionist. I wanted to come on live today to talk more deeply about thyroid health. If you are someone who's dealing with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, this video is for you. And I have reversed hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's in my body 100% holistically. In fact, I have been off all thyroid medications and all medications now for over 6 years. And there's so much about thyroid health that a lot of people still don't understand. And so I wanted to share a little bit more information, especially if you are one of the millions of people who are on thyroid medication and you're not feeling any better. So, yeah, that was me. That was me several years ago. What are we? 2026. In 2016, I was diligently taking my thyroid medications every single day. And I thought I was doing all the right things in terms of my nutrition and exercise and all of these things. And yet I was having a hard time getting myself to feel any better. I was still struggling. I would get up in the morning. I couldn't stand up straight because I had so much inflammation in my body. It hurt to do this because my joints were so inflamed, and I was tired all the time, what's called thyroid tired. I was one of those people that I could literally fall asleep anywhere, anytime. I felt so exhausted. And so anyway, I wanted to do this video to go a little bit deeper just on the medication side. So if you are somebody who's been taking thyroid medications and you're not feeling any better, then yeah, watch this video all the way to the end. Now, 1 in 8 women actually deal with thyroid issues. And most of the time, most are dealing with hypothyroidism, and 90% of the people who have hypothyroidism also have an autoimmune disorder called Hashimoto's. And so they kind of go hand in hand, just like when someone has hyperthyroidism, generally they're also dealing with an autoimmune condition called Graves' disease. Now, I know it can be very, very scary to get these kind of like diagnoses and have these names attached to conditions that are happening in the body. And I know for myself, like when I was diagnosed back in 2000, like late 2013, early 2014, I felt really let down by my body. I felt defeated. I also was going through a time in my life. This was shortly after my husband had passed away, about a year and a half after he had passed away. And so I was also sitting in this time in my life where things were really, really dark. And then I got this diagnosis on top of that. And so it just kind of felt like yet another terrible thing in my life. And it was not a good time. And so when I went to the doctor and I got that diagnosis for hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, I thought, and I was prescribed medications, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to start taking these medications every single day. I'm going to follow doctor's orders and take these meds, and I'm going to start to feel like myself again. And lo and behold, the more time went on, the less I felt like myself, the worse I felt. And so if you are somebody who's been taking your medications and you're not feeling any better, most often the thyroid gets blamed for things that are going awry in the body, and it might not necessarily be your thyroid. And so if you're one of the people that are taking thyroid medications but you're not feeling better, it's not your thyroid. You have to look elsewhere. And that elsewhere could be your liver, it could be your gut, it could be your pituitary gland, it could be all of them, or maybe a little bit of each. And so in the video, I'm going to share about what role those different organs and tissues play when it comes to thyroid health, and why it's really, really important to look at your body holistically and think about balancing all the different systems in the body in order to support optimal health. So let's start with the liver. So your liver is a detox organ, And it is responsible for dealing with every single chemical that comes into your body. That could be from food, it could be from air that you're breathing in, it could be from makeup that you're putting onto your face, onto your skin. It could be from whatever lotions and potions you're using, hair products, that kind of stuff. Alcohol, your liver has to contend with alcohol. It has to contend with so much. If you're consuming a lot of pharmaceuticals, it also has to deal with chemicals from that. And so, what I have seen in my like almost 10 years of my practice is that people have, like, everyone has a liver that is completely overloaded and is doing too much work. And so the reason this matters in thyroid conditions is that 60% of the conversion from T4, which is the inactive thyroid hormone, to the active form, which is T3, 60% of that conversion happens in your liver. But if your liver is stressed out, it's overworked, it's tired, it's doing too much, well, guess what? It's not going to be doing that conversion accurately. So, one of the things that I'm always advising people to do, those who, in fact, just a little while ago, I had a follow up with a client who has hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. And so it's really, really important for her to not only support her thyroid and her adrenals, but she also has to support her liver. And so there's two ways you can, well, there's many ways you can support the liver, but a couple of the ways to support the liver is, number one, reduce the amount of toxic chemicals that you are taking in. Like, try to reduce the amount of chemicals you're eating, you're drinking, you're putting on your skin, you're breathing in. Do your absolute best to reduce the toxic load. That's one side of the equation. And then the other side of the equation is to support detoxification. So that means that having your diet be more alkaline, having a lot of fruit, especially citrus fruits or melons, which tend to pull on the lymph and really help support detoxification in the body. So doing that, you can also do something like castor oil packing for the liver. That's also beneficial. So those are some of the ways that you can support your liver. Now, there's more, but that's a good place to start. So that's the liver. Then the other thing we want to pay attention to always when it comes to thyroid function is gut health, because 20% of the conversion from T4 to T3 also happens in the gut. And so all of us, every single human being on planet Earth, breathes in this toxic chemical called glyphosate. Now, glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. Roundup is a herbicide that Monsanto brought to market. Monsanto is actually no longer in existence. They were purchased, they were bought out by Bayer. I want to say 2018, 2019, something like that. And so, what this toxic herbicide does, what glyphosate does in the body is, well, in the soil, it destroys the microbes in the soil, it destroys the amino acid profile in plants. And in human beings, what it does is it destroys our gut microbiome, and it leads to a condition called leaky gut. That's when the tight junctions of our gut, which are like sealed together, they start to come apart, and the contents of the gut start to leak into other parts of the body, and they can go anywhere. That is one of the things that contributes to autoimmune conditions. It's not the only thing, but it's one of the things. And the other thing that glyphosate does is it actually starts to glue down the microvilli in your gut. And so it's these microvilli in your small intestine that allow your body to absorb nutrients. And oftentimes, what's happening in the case of thyroid issues is that even if you're intaking certain nutrients, they're not being absorbed because there's damage to the gut. And this is why it's really, really important to address the glyphosate in the body, to address leaky gut, and to also work on getting the microvilli to be functional again. So there is a program that I utilized myself when I started to learn about glyphosate, and I realized how toxic it is, and it is directly connected to thyroid issues. So exposure to glyphosate is connected to certain cancers, autoimmune conditions, infertility, a rise in autism rates, and of course, thyroid issues as well. So, when I first started to learn about the connection between thyroid issues and glyphosate exposure, that was when I went on the hunt to try to find out, like, is there a way to get the glyphosate out of my body? And if so, how is that done? And so I ended up doing a program called the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation, which not only addresses diet and gut health, but it also addresses parasites. So if you look in my links, you'll see that that program is linked up. And it's incredibly effective at getting glyphosate out of the body. In fact, in a preclinical trial, they had two groups of people, and the group all the entire group, both groups were eating the standard American diet, which we know is very, very toxic and not healthy at all. Both groups were eating this diet. And the group that was taking Biomedic every single day, they saw a reduction in their glyphosate levels of 74% after 6 weeks. And they saw a reduction in an inflammation inflammation marker called C-reactive protein. They saw a 75% drop in that inflammation marker over just after 6 weeks as well. And there are people who've been taking that gut support more ongoing, and they've seen a reduction in glyphosate by as much as 95%. Now, glyphosate isn't the only chemical toxin we are exposed to. We're exposed to literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of chemicals daily. And even once you address the glyphosate, it's like we're always breathing it in because it's a water soluble toxin. It gets into our body through our skin, through our food, through our water. So it's something that you have to always be vigilant about. And when it comes to thyroid function, this is one of the areas in your body that you want to be paying attention to. So liver, gut, and now let's talk about the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is what's called the master gland. And when there's pituitary imbalance, what'll happen is it won't just impact your thyroid, it will impact other glands as well. So one of the ways to know that there is a pituitary imbalance is if you have multiple glands in your endocrine system that are out of balance. So for example, this client that I was speaking with, like not that long ago, maybe about an hour ago, her not only is her thyroid out of balance, but her ovaries, because she's not regular anymore, so she's not having her cycle on a regular basis. She's got some adrenal stuff going on. What else was there? Thyroid stuff going on. So anytime there's more than two endocrine glands that are out of balance, we can look to the master gland, which is the pituitary. The pituitary gland tells the other glands what to do. It secretes hormones that tells other glands what their job is. So in the case of the thyroid gland, it's excreting TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, to get the thyroid gland to release T4, and then that T4 conversion is happening. Most of it is happening in the liver. 20% happens in the thyroid, 20% happens in the gut. So, but if the pituitary gland is out of balance, the thyroid won't know what to do, the adrenals won't know what to do, ovaries won't know what to do in the case of women. So just keeping that in mind is that sometimes when it comes to thyroid issues, it could be pituitary related. And I know in my case, it was definitely pituitary related just because of some of the other symptoms that I had in my body, in that adrenals were out of balance. There were other glands and tissues that were also out of balance. And so it is important to kind of like look at the body holistically and see what is going on before going into addressing an issue. So in the case of like a pituitary gland being out of balance, we would definitely change the internal terrain of the body for sure. Anytime the endocrine system is out of balance, we have to look at ways to support it. So some of that is making sure that your sleep is optimized, But there are also other ways to support the glands through herbal tinctures and through different teas. And it really depends on the person and what exactly is going on in terms of the best way to address whatever is happening at the root level. But if you are, so just to kind of circle back, what I started this video with is, if you are one of those people where you're taking medication for thyroid issues, but you still feel tired, you're still like feeling like none of your symptoms are getting better, you're dealing with like hair loss and all kinds of other stuff that's going awry in your body, your mood is impacted, low sex drive, all of that stuff, but you're taking this medication diligently every day, you have to look beyond the thyroid and look at some of the other glands that might be out of balance, some of the other glands and organs. The other thing to also address there is always diet, right? Because if your diet is very, very inflammatory, it's going to impact your thyroid negatively. So an inflammatory diet has lots of animal products, lots of fast food, lots of processed foods. And when you're putting those kinds of things into your body, it can actually impact how your thyroid is functioning. And it can also interfere with with T3 and T4. So for example, something like coffee. I was a big coffee addict. I used to have like, I don't know, I have to think back. I used to have something like 2 to 3 double shots of espresso a day, and I had no idea that that was actually interfering with my thyroid function. And so and so, I mean, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is just ignorance, as I like to say. But back then I didn't know any better. So I'd be driving to do a workout at 6:40, a HIIT workout at 6:45 in the morning with a double shot of espresso in my car, drinking it on an empty stomach, thinking to myself that I was doing something good for my body in terms of having caffeine on an empty stomach and doing this crazy workout at that hour of the morning. What I didn't realize at the time was that HIIT, high intensity interval training, was the exact wrong thing for someone with my health condition, because my body was already stressed, already so inflamed, that exercise, though it's a good thing, when you're doing something that is putting stress on top of stress on top of stress, it can actually be a net negative. And in my case, for the whole time that I did these crazy HIIT workouts, I lost no weight and I just felt terrible in my body all the time. When I switched my workouts to doing things like yoga, weight training, walking, the weight started to come off my body and I started to feel better. And guess what? My joints aren't inflamed. But a big part of that was also changing my diet, not eating inflammatory foods, and getting rid of the foods that interfere with thyroid function. So I stopped consuming coffee, I stopped consuming alcohol and processed foods and fast foods. And I hadn't done animal products in a very, very long time. But I got rid of some of the other foods that, we're encouraged to eat, being told like, oh, it's okay, it's no big deal. It's really understanding how certain things are impacting your thyroid function and your thyroid health. And if they're interfering with the way your thyroid functions, then you need to get rid of it. So that includes alcohol, caffeine, fast foods, processed foods, and animal-based foods. Animal-based foods and dairy in particular, not only do they interfere with the thyroid function, but they create an antibody response in the body. So when you have them, it's like it kicks up this antibody response, which makes the whole situation worse. So anyway, I wanted to share that today. I'm probably going to be doing some deeper diving on the nutrition side, and there's also the importance of addressing parasites when you're dealing with different chronic health conditions as well. So I'll talk about that on another video. If you're watching this video and you are not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe. If there's anyone in your circle that could really benefit from this information, you know somebody who's dealing with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's and they're at their wits' end trying to figure out how to get healthier, please share this information with them because you could literally help somebody improve their life. And if you haven't already checked it out, I released a book back in November. There was my first book, Finding Light, came out. And so there's a link below this video where you can go to my website and go check out the book. Every single person that has read it so far has loved the book. And in the book, I share my own journey to getting healthy and healing my body, and I share the practices that I utilize to get my health back on track beyond just nutrition and movement. It goes a lot deeper than that because obviously we have to address our emotional body and trauma and all of those things. So I get into in the book, I get into some of the tools and the practices that I've used and why I use them and use them on my health journey and how I continue to use them. So yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of my online community. I also have a membership called Elevate, which is a group program really designed to walk you step by step through getting your health back on track and going in, doing the deep work, like really digging up everything that needs to be dug up so that you can get on the other side of it and get your health back on track. So thank you for being here. Thanks for watching this video. Feel free to share it. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'll see you on the next live. Bye for now.